to my college days when I was getting a mechanical engineering degree. And back in the early 90s, I participated with a team of student engineers who designed and built a solar car that we raced from Dallas to Minneapolis. And I realized a couple of things as a result of that. One is just the potential of renewables to meet many of the needs that we have for energy in this country, but also the potential of efficiency and the realization of how much energy we waste as a society. And I think, when we talk about clean energy, the cleanest energy, the first thing we should all be doing is efficiency. It's enormous, the potential out there, when you do that first, and it makes all those other clean energy sources so much more able to meet our demands when you start by reducing your demand. In my own life, before we put a grid-tied solar PV system on my house, the first thing we did was insulated the house. Replaced the 20-year-old refrigerator, replaced all the appliances and the light bulbs that were incandescents with compact fluorescence. Those kinds of things have the potential to really, look at California as an example. I mean, it's a state that has been growing in population, and its economy has been growing by leaps and bounds for the last 25 years, yet they utilize about the same energy that they did 25 years ago. And they've done that by having a program of efficiency, in addition to their efforts on behalf of clean energy. I think those are things that we have to work on. We have a great opportunity right now to capitalize on changes that are going to allow us to push forward policy initiatives that have sort of been dead on arrival for many years. And I've really enjoyed getting to know some of the leaders in this energy policy debate in Washington, D.C. I spend a good part of my week back there meeting with people like Jay Inslee and Steve Israel and others who have been championing these issues for years, and it felt like they were kind of voices in the wilderness. And that is not the case anymore. There's actually a caucus called the Sustainable Energy and Environment Caucus that we formed at the beginning of this Congress that has almost 40 members now and is a loud and strong voice for moving forward on these issues. I'm co-sponsoring legislation to take the work that we've done here in New Mexico with a renewable portfolio standard and apply that nationwide so that we can continue. And I think it's important to realize by having New Mexico play such a good role at the city level. I worked with Isaac Benton and Michael Cadigan on trying to come up with a cleaner, greener building code. We moved to do things like require new city buildings to be LEED certified. You're going to hear a lot about some of the major things that have been done here at the state level through the PRC and the legislature, including the Renewable Portfolio Standard. All of those things, when we were arguing about them, you would hear sort of the same argument that this is going to cost us money, this is going to reduce our ability to compete. And I don't think anything could be further from the truth. The reality is today, we are in a better position to compete across this nation and globally because of the groundwork that we have laid in what is going to be the defining job sector of the future. And even in the midst of what has been the worst recession since the Great Depression, we have had headlines about a new solar manufacturing plant moving to the west side in Bernalillo County, one moving to Valencia County, Shot Solar investing in Mesa del Sol and putting a new $100 million manufacturing facility there. In the midst of this great, this very trying recession, we've seen jobs being created. And oftentimes it's those big companies that grab the headlines, but we have so many local entrepreneurs here in central New Mexico who have been building jobs, creating jobs since the late 1970s. And I think this is beginning to be a bigger and bigger sector of our economy. We're looking at an enormous expansion in terms of not only solar, but also wind energy in New Mexico as more and more wind farms are looking at places like Torrance County, right across the mountains from us. And we need to realize that. We also need to realize going into this debate about how to constrain carbon in our economy, that it really is once again a debate about competitiveness. And the choice, to my mind, is one of either being the world leader and making sure that we're first and foremost in this new economic environment of a constrained carbon world, and that we're creating the good jobs of tomorrow here in the United States and here in New Mexico, or we can cede the leadership for those kinds of things to places like Europe that have already said we're going to step up. You know, I had the fortune to spend some time in Spain when I was younger. They were not leaders in renewables at the time, at a time when I was really working on some of these things in college. And today, they are leading the world in solar and wind and creating new jobs and new companies, and companies now investing in the United States from Spain. You know, those jobs, if we play our cards right, should be homegrown American jobs. We can lead the world in this effort, but it's going to take more than a zero-sum game in approaching many of these debates and realizing that if we embrace some of these things and we think about the future, that we are going to be creating the good jobs of tomorrow for our children here in New Mexico. So thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here today.